Welcome to What Makes Us Human, a space where we have conversations about what makes us who we are. Each person comes in with their unique perspective to explore this age-old question. So let's welcome today's special guest. Today I'm joined by Bhaktiveda Dhaul Taragi, an expressive art therapist, sound healing practitioner, and breathwork facilitator based in Bangalore, India, and the founder of Prana Expressive Awakening. Bhaktiveda has been pioneering expressive art therapy in India since 2009, using a unique blend of movement, sound, art, drama, and breathwork to help people access healing from the inside out. She trained in the US at Trinity College and Lesley University, where she specialized in expressive arts and mental health counseling, and has since brought that work home, reaching everyone from cancer patients and children with special needs to corporate teams and companies like JP Morgan and Deloitte. At the heart of her philosophy is a simple but powerful idea that words alone can't capture how we truly feel, and that through creative expression, we can reach parts of ourselves that talking never quite gets to. So thank you, Veda, for being here.
Thank you so much, Drishti, for that beautiful, beautiful introduction. It really makes me feel very fulfilled to hear somebody else kind of describe the journey that I've been on. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So, to really start off this conversation, I thought we could jump straight into the question. And in your perspective, I want to know what makes us human.
Hmm. So I feel that it's a very complex answer. At the same time, it's a really simple answer. And I feel like all of us human beings are really trying to understand who we are and what we're doing here. And I think that is a huge part of what it is to be human, is the questioning of what a human being is. Um, I was thinking the other day that we as human beings have the ability to explore. And I was thinking that if you look at a bird is only able to access what they can, and they have a limited capacity to how they explore the world. But we human beings have taken a submarine and gone in the depths of the ocean. We've taken a rocket and gone into the multitude of space. So we are so explorative that if we physically don't have the limbs and the tools and the gills to explore the different planes of our universe, we make machines that take us where we want to go. So I think this explorative, dynamic, creative potential of a human being is something that is amazing, that separates us from the animal kingdom. It's beautiful. Like today we know about the stars and the Milky Way, and we know about the corals in the ocean, and we know about, every tree, every plant has a name. We're really exploring our surroundings. I'm not saying that animals don't explore, but we are exploring multi dimensions because we're physically transporting ourselves there. So that is something that's coming on the top of my mind.
I really, really appreciate you bringing that in because I think it's also speaking to this curiosity within us. And I'm curious to hear about that. How do you think that exploration and curiosity feed into the human experience?
So I feel like a part of being a human is also to be creative, right? And if you're curious about something, you'll find a creative solution to get your answer. So I think that it's amazing that today, if you look at the evolution of technology or the evolution of, even like medical equipment and sciences, and, there's a gamut. Every day we're hearing of some new product launch, some new release. So I feel like somewhere down the line, when there's curiosity and there's room for exploration, there's invention. And no matter how much, like now we're all inflicted with this beautiful artificial intelligence. And I think it's a very valid question what you're asking, because we are at the pinnacle of really trying to understand what it is to be human. Like how much of our brain and our hearts are being controlled by technology. It's something that is taking over the world, and it's kind of really beneficial in many ways. Like I was talking to a friend yesterday who was talking about the fact that AI is an enabler for human potential. At the same time, it's not something that, people are like, oh, what will happen? AI. As long as we use it as an enabler and we don't get enslaved by it and kind of essentially find a balance. And I think this is the essence of humanity, of being a human, is to find a balance in everything. So, like the balance between the good and the bad, the balance of duality in a sense. Um, Today, I can choose yes or no. I can choose my fate. If I make a decision today, it is my free will. And I'm able to do that because I'm a human being. So today I can choose if I want to sleep in, or if I want to go for a walk, or if I want to eat a specific meal. That is something that is also a human choice, which I feel like I don't think my dog has that choice. My dog has to eat what he's given to eat. But me being a human, I'm able to choose what I want to eat. And because I can explore my surroundings, I'm able to create that diversity. I'm able to create new opportunities and new flavors of life.
And I think what I'm picking up on is this relationship also between choice and creation, and especially with the work that you do as well. I'm really curious to know how our ability to choose impacts the way we live our life, and then how do we also create our life?
So, okay. So here's what's coming to me, right? I feel like another part of being a human is our emotions, and we're constantly afflicted by how we feel and how sad we are. And our entire pillars of life are based on love and attachment and connection. And today in the morning, I woke up and I was like, in life is meant to be enjoyed. Life is not meant to be like something that you are dragging down your feet, or you're trying to just find all the bad things happening. Of course, there's a lot of hardships that people are going through in this world. But when Lord Buddha talks of all is suffering and everything is suffering, and that is the base of human existence, what I take from it is, how do you rise above the suffering? How do you create that suffering into an opportunity of self growth, of evolution? And by taking something that's bad and creating it into something that is a learning for you or an experience for you, I think is the true way of creating a life that is balanced. Like, I can keep grieving about something that has happened in the past, and by holding on to those emotions and that grief, I'm not moving on from it, and I'm not opening myself to new possibilities. But if I changed my perspective, if I just switch the way I look at something negative and create it into a positive experience for me, my entire life vibration changes. I'm not sitting with a lot of the load that I'm unnecessarily holding on to. So my new philosophy is that if I have a concern or a conflict, I think about the fact that, can I change something about it? So I give myself a period of 20 minutes. I said, okay, in this 20 minutes, can I really do something that will change this? If I can, I act in those 20 minutes. And if it's not possible to change it, I let go. So I'm not trying to change what I can't. The only thing I can change is my relationship with my thoughts and my body and myself. And that is a process that we have as a human. It's a long process, but it's what we have to work towards. And the other thing really beautiful I was contemplating is, if you look at all the animals in nature, they have paws, right? So because they have paws, they predominantly hold things in their mouth. But we have a thumb. And because we have a thumb, we have the ability to hold. And because we have the ability to hold on to something, we can hold on to a glass, or we can hold somebody's hand, or we can experience the depth and the resonance of touch. It also creates attachment. It also creates pride. It also creates greed. So this is an interesting duality of humans, where we have the ability to really, really love the attachment. We really have to find the strength to let go of it. And this is the duality in this human psyche, that we live to love. And then eventually we have to learn to let go.
Oh,
So what are we doing here? It's this constant dance of the sun and the moon. Today I'm sad, tomorrow I'm happy. Today I'm good, tomorrow I'm bad. I want this, I don't want that. It's all this beautiful dance of the universe that's happening within us. And I find that if we can just anchor in to be in the now, be in the present, take each breath as it comes literally, if we stay in the now, we are at peace. The moment we start going to what happened then and what will happen tomorrow and there's so much of stress in our heads that is so unnecessary. We just have to stay with this moment right now. That I think is the joy of being a human.
wow. Wow. Like I've heard so many times we need to stay in the now, but to understand the depth of that, I think it was just the most beautiful journey in the way you spoke. So thank you for bringing that up. And, with staying in the now, how do you think we can do that when we are dancing through these dualities? And previously, you were talking about suffering and this idea of also letting go. Like in 20 minutes, if I can't change anything, then I just let it go. So, again, that dance between attachment and detachment, all of these things, how does one actually put it into practice?
It's the evolutionary journey of consciousness is not something that's easy. Okay. It is something that comes with time. We spend the first 20 years of our lives learning and the next 20 years of our lives unlearning what we've learned. Again, duality. But I think that what I can talk from my lived experience in my journey is to truly incorporating the idea of being a witness and not being completely like subdued by a phenomena. When we talked about the attachment and all of that, there's also this concept of Maya where everything is an illusion. So if I know that today I am conscious of my waking state, I'm conscious of my being, my body, my breath, my thoughts, this is my gift of life.
Mhm.
And if I'm getting lost in the illusion, it's not the truth. So the idea is to kind of be a part of this movement, be a part of this vibration, but also constantly keep checking yourself and stepping away from it and just being like, okay, what is the bigger picture? Okay, what's happening here? Okay, how am I reacting? Okay, how am I feeling? Okay, if someone says something nice to me, how do I feel? So it's literally not like, and I do this a lot with my patients in therapy. Sometimes people think that a problem that they're having is the end of the world.
Mm.
Like, oh my God, like I have this issue and I have that issue and how will I live? And but if you just flip the switch and just change your perspective on how you look at that problem, the problem doesn't exist anymore. So I feel like somewhere just kind of taking a back seat and just pondering on the fact that there is some truth and there is some science in the way the sun and the moon govern our emotions and our life and the way nature's evolving, and with the evolution of nature, we are evolving too, and not getting too stuck on materialistic goals and achievements that are short lived. Um, I think right now we are living in a very shared reality where other people's thoughts, other people's projections are being imposed onto us, especially with social media, with technology. Like we watch a film and we already are, whatever the film has had to say has already become our shared reality.
Mm.
So I feel like trying to not get swayed in by this rat race of shared reality, but really stepping back and just knowing that there is probably a higher plan or a higher picture or a bigger plan that's happening. And I feel like a lot of people today are experimenting with psychedelics in therapy, because essentially what I've heard it does is it kind of just opens up your perspective, where something that you really put all your energy into, that was a really small, concentrated, dense problem, suddenly evaporates
Mm.
because there are bigger problems in the universe than your child not listening, for example. So yeah, it's kind of like, it's interesting. It's a journey, and I really feel like what I love about being a human is the way we can connect with other beings. Like I do a lot of work where I'm trying to understand the healing power of just a human being in your life. Like just having a friend, having a partner, the energy and the resonance, the healing resonance. It's like sometimes the placebo, right? Like we're sick and we just the fact that we're going to see a doctor makes us feel better. So there's this beautiful human connection, human resonance that is going on, which I think I'm really happy to be a human because I love interacting with people. And I feel like when one human meets another human, yes, we're looking at them from the outside and what are they wearing and how do they look and how there's a lot of energetic movement that's happening between two people from multiple lifetimes, perhaps. So there's a lot more going on in the different planes within our body, which we don't even realize. So, in a lot of work that I do, and we very sweetly mentioned in the beginning, when I talk about how words can't express sometimes how you feel, we're kind of like zooming out from our bodies and looking at our beings as pure vibration and pure energy, because that is essentially what is making our heart beat every day. If there's no energy in our body, we're gone. It's not about, oh, if I don't have the most perfect body, I can't exist. No, but if I don't have a heartbeat, I'm gone. So, what's more important? Like,
Ah.
do you judge somebody based on how beautiful they are inside or how beautiful are they outside? That is the test of a human being to accept another. I feel like if a human being can purely love somebody without the drama of the aesthetic physicality, that I think is really pure human essence. When you can love somebody beyond how they look, but because of your resonation with them and how you resonate with them and how your body feels in front of them and how your mind, like it's beyond what we can put in categories. It's like, when you see somebody who you're inspired, you just, like, people just fall or they just faint. It's something else that overtakes them, that their cognitive mind cannot give you a reason.
It's funny you're saying that. And as you're speaking, I'm feeling that energy. Like I'm feeling the resonance of your words. Yes, your words are communicating with me, but I'm feeling the energy of it and the vibration of your words. And it's hitting so deep. So it's happening in real time as well. So I find that to be very, very interesting. And going off that idea and that sense of tapping into what is beyond the physical as well, the energy, the resonance, all of this, whether it's with another or whether it's with the self, how do you see humans having the ability to access these truths or these experiences that are beyond the physical?
What's really bubbling right now inside me is nature. I
Mm,
think that everybody has different pathways to what works for them.
yeah.
But I think that nature is the most fundamental healing beauty that we have on this planet, which automatically does something to somebody. So it could be any age, anywhere in the world. If somebody goes to the ocean or somebody goes to a forest, there is something that is already transmuting, which is giving them that experience of the spirit without having to sign up for a class that is going to make me connect to the spirit. And if you think about it, if you look at like the veins in a leaf, it's the same structure as our arteries. Or even if you look at the lungs, or if you look at the way roots are coming up from a tree, sometimes I use this beautiful analogy in my meditations where we think of our spine as the trunk, and then our arms branch up like the branches, and just closing your eyes and just feeling that connection with the tree that you are and the tree that's in front of you, it creates a very beautiful symbiotic existence that we need that tree to give us that oxygen and they need us to take the carbon dioxide. And this beautiful symbiotic connection, I think, is all that we need to disconnect ourselves from the mental pressure, to just realize and understand that this is the tree of life, that this is what is giving us life, and that is what we have to focus on. Everything else is one day going to be dust. So, also, I feel like we give a lot of importance to what is it that I want to achieve, how much money do I want to have. Like, it's great, you must be ambitious, but just being aware of the fact that you're not going anywhere with it. So, it's the balance again of creating permanency in the impermanence, like how and that's a beautiful challenge. And that, I think, is our gift of this journey, like the exploration of who I am and what I can do and how much I can evolve as a human is my journey of life.
I think that's such an important point because so often, especially like you said, the first 20 years we learn and then the next 20 years we unlearn. And I think a lot of what we learn in the first 20 years is this very linear way of advancing, right? Like by this age, I need to do this and I need to do this and I need to reach this amount of success and things like that. And what you're speaking to is sounds like something that's so much more, like you said earlier, present, right? And present sort of removes the linear growth, the ambition and all of that. So yeah, I want to know more about this impermanence that you're talking about too, the way we can engage, or at least the way that you engage with impermanence and presence. And if you've also been conditioned in that way, what was your process of unlearning?
Wow. So I have to thank my dad because that was the first lesson that he taught us as kids,
Mm.
that the only thing constant is change.
Mm.
So as a young kid, I remember that I think that also formed my mental framework towards life. But a lot of times people say, okay, so what are you doing on October 7th at 4 p.m.? And I always have a problem committing to somebody. I cannot make a plan 4 months in advance because I don't know where I will be. Like
Mm.
that is, I'm just giving you an example. Like, when you hear of crazy accidents or you hear of crazy things, it happens. People suddenly, in 1 second, people's lives change. In 1 second, people vanish. In 1 second, there's a tsunami. There's a earthquake. Like the only reality that and the only truth we know is that nothing is going to last forever. Nothing. How
Mm.
much ever you want to preserve, if you're physically not there, that thing might kind of still be around for a few more generations, but it's a matter of time that everything is going to be stardust all over again. So I would just say that the way I deal with impermanence is just really like understanding and surrendering that we are not invincible and we can't control everything, and we have to have some space to go with the flow and to trust the process of life. You can't always be in control, and people have a big problem with letting go today. Everyone wants to control everything, and then sometimes you have a big fall because you realize that you it's not in you to control everything, and sometimes you just have to surrender to the will of the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is making me think of a couple of things that you've said throughout this conversation, but I want to understand your perspective on humans with regard to greed and possessiveness and things like that too, because you've kind of touched on it at different points. So, yeah, what do you think about that?
So I think it all comes down to balance, as we spoke before.
Yeah.
Today we live in a world where it's essential for us to generate money. Today we don't have access to proper living conditions or proper access to water or electricity or the basic needs of the evolved planet without money. So that's something where it's important to have. But I think that what is missing somewhere is the idea of being content, like contentment. So it's great to be ambitious. It's great to be hardworking. It's okay to be a little greedy, I guess, sometimes. But as long as it's in balance, as long as you're content with what you have, then the room for greed doesn't exist. Greed only comes when you are not satisfied. And how relative is the term satisfaction? Like, are you satisfied with this much, that much, that much? You have all this and you're still not satisfied. Now, that is where I think greed comes in. I remember this beautiful Indian prophecy that I had read on greed, which talks about only when the last tree has been cut down, the last fish has been caught, the last stream has been poisoned, only then will we realize that we cannot eat money.
Ooh.
So it's really, again, nature's coming back into this mix where nature actually teaches us everything in life. And it's about really understanding that how do I find a balance where I'm also doing something good? Like, I believe in something called earth karma, where I believe that, let's say, if you're constructing something on the earth, you better be planting some trees as well. You
Mm.
have to again balance the karma you're doing on this earth. This other beautiful thing is I went to this beautiful property where I realized that the entire ecosystem of the property created such beautiful opportunities for the villagers that the property was flourishing because of the goodwill that they were getting from everything around them. and they were recycling, and there was not a drop of water that was wasted. They opened schools for the staff's kids. They would, buy newspapers from the village and employ somebody else to make the bags and then sell those bags to the guests of the hotel to feed the fish. And I felt like this whole beautiful sustainable cycle of recycling and reusing and regenerating and recalibrating as well is something that we need to really start implying on this earth. Like, if we really get our minds together and stop creating so much garbage and actually using our resources to create sustainable solutions, I feel like we'll be in a much happier place 20 years from now. We have no idea where our trash is going. There's no dustbin on the earth. Where does all our trash go? It goes into the water, it goes into landfills, it's going back into the earth. There's no hollow garbage that is, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that it's important that we also understand the impact of what we're doing. Today, there's so much development. People are building 100-floor buildings and 100-acre hotels, and it's crazy. There's no stopping. But my only plea to anyone that's doing anything on a large developmental scale is make sure you give back to the earth. Make sure you give back. And that's the balance of greed and the respect for the earth's resources at the same time.
Yeah, I think respect is such a crucial word in this space. And I'm also curious to hear your thoughts on this, because there is this idea that, people who operate from a space of greed, always wanting more, it's all essentially trying to fill a lack that is within the self. And people who are creating, but are doing it in a way that is respectful, that is symbiotic, like you had mentioned earlier, there it's coming from a place of abundance, or rather wholeness, integration. So I'm curious to hear your perspective on that.
I think it's a very complex reality of why a person behaves the way they do and what is it in them that is giving them the security or the insecurity. It's a very deep, individualistic thing. I don't think we can generalize this topic as a whole. The one thing I do know is that 0 to 18 is your childhood, and then 18 to 65 is healing from your childhood. So, irrespective of whether you've had a quote unquote happy childhood or an unhappy childhood, there's trauma anyway. So, all of us are constantly dealing with trying to understand what we are secure with and what we're insecure about. And it's again this constant play of the mind, of the body. And it's difficult to answer that question as a general sense, because I feel like it really depends on each individual being and what is it that gives them that sense of being able to be abundant or the lack of that. It's something that's very individualistic. It depends on, your upbringing, your childhood, your personality, your karma, your destiny, your intelligence. It's so many different factors that create an individual and what they do in this world.
Yeah.
And I really like to respect the fact that we're all individuals. We all have our own unique blueprint. We all have a unique fingerprint, a thumbprint. And it's really essential for us as human beings to understand that we are unique individuals and we do not have to be like everyone else, because the shared reality of everyone else is an illusion.
Yeah.
So if today I wish to be, or I wish to do, or I wish to create, it's my prerogative. The problem is that in schools, the kind of structure system that we feel like we should be a part of the herd. And if I'm not a part of the blind herd, I'm not normal. What is normal anyway? That's a whole other topic. But I really feel like we should really respect our individual uniqueness. And that's why I love the work that I do as an expressive art therapist, is because it's so authentic to what a person uniquely is. And we celebrate that. We meet an individual where they are at and we accept them where they are at, as opposed to challenging them to try and be something that they possibly can't. And it's really respecting the diversity of beings on this planet. Like, there are so many types of people and everyone is doing their best from their state of consciousness. So I feel like sometimes if I don't agree with somebody's thoughts, or if I'm not liking the way somebody's talking or whatever, we're all humans, we have these thoughts. And I just try not to judge them, and I just say, you know what, they're doing the best from their state of consciousness. And That's it. And it's not in any place to judge another. You can't judge another, because I've learned if I judge somebody, the same thing happens to me.
Yeah.
So really being in a place of not trying to be too judgmental, because you don't know what's happening in that other person's life and why they are doing what they are doing. And we're so easy to pass judgments on to people who we don't know. And that's something I feel is quite sad. One more thing that I was thinking about actually while we were speaking is that what I think is lovely about humans is our idea of community, celebration, and how coming together is celebration. And this is something that dates back when you look at ancient traditions around the fire, a lot of our folk dances, a lot of community celebration was all about music and dance and the arts coming together and creating meaningful experiences with the elements, with whether it was fire, it was water, and just being our primal selves. I think is something that we are not getting adequate time and space for. Now our community celebrations are also completely taken over by Bollywood. You know, we're losing that essence of truly what it is to be a human, and that is something where I'm really happy you actually raise a very beautiful question, because in today's day and age, with this onslaught of technology, it's a very deep questioning that really, like, what is it being a human being? If my computer is telling me more about myself than I know, it's a big question. Like, what am I? Who am I? And what is this evolution going to take me towards being? And I'm curious. I'm nervous, I'm happy, I'm scared, but I'm really curious to see where we're going to be 30 years from now. Like, what is humanity going to look like? Like, what are human beings going to look like? I was reading the other day an article about how very soon there's going to be no more illnesses, and the average age of life is going to be 130 years old. That's the new technology and research that's going into advancements of healthcare, and it's crazy. Well, it's a journey that I don't know if I should be worried for my children or if I should be excited. Again, that's the duality.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, like you said, right, like time will tell. The journey is the journey, and something about not also fixating on the outcome, because I don't know if there ever is really an outcome, right? Because even the outcome becomes a journey from there. So yeah, this has been such an incredibly rich conversation, and there's so much for me to contemplate also with this. But you were talking about the individual thumbprints and how we should also honor each person's individual experience. We might not understand it, but we at least don't judge it. And I want to know a little bit more about how, for ourselves, we can honor, or at least how you've done it in your journey, honoring your own unique blueprint. Because there's so many times that we judge ourselves based on the lenses of everyone else. And so, how can we feel safe, or how do you feel safe in your own uniqueness and also embracing that primal version of yourself?
I think, first of all, what I want to say is that the creative potential of a human being, I don't think is even semi tapped. There's so much of conditioning that we're deconditioning ourselves from, that it's like, do you dare to dream? You know? Um, and if you have dreamt enough without the influence of what will you do, beta? Or like, how is your, how much money are you making? They are very, very subjugated. I kind of want to say the subtle pressure that exists where our own creativity and our own unique blueprint is being suppressed right from when we are small children. So I feel like we still have not had the space to truly create and dream and manifest without having some sort of a requirement or a blockage. And I really think that human innovation is basically an individual exercising their own individual blueprint, whether it's the invention of a light bulb or the invention of a computer or the invention of a microwave. It's all because of one human being or a team of human beings who've thought out of the box. They have not followed the blueprint of what society is teaching them, but they're like, hey, like, let's create something that the world has not seen. And that is something where innovations today have happened because people thought out of the box. If they were stuck in their box, we'd probably still be in a prehistoric era at the moment, because then there'd be no thought, there'd be no evolution, there'd be no, movement of ideas and culture exchange. So I feel like it's important that you should dare to dream, and it's important that you really use creativity and innovation to the best of your possibility, even in business, even in life. It's not easy, Vishti, in this current day and age, to be like, hey, I want to do my thing and I want to be on my own. But at the same time, I would say, do you dare to dream? And that is something that the world is for dreamers, and it's the dreamers that will create radical change.
Chills, absolute chills with that. But yes, no, thank you for gifting that wisdom to all of us, me, the people listening in, and whoever else gets to see this, because it's such an invitation. It's such an invitation to break out and break into ourselves as well, So I really love that. And yeah, just to wrap this space up, I wanted to end with the final question of, what is the most human thing that you have experienced in your life?
Breath. And I think there was a moment where I went underwater. I was scuba diving, and it was only me and my breath and the ocean that I could hear. And the breathing, I felt there was not a deeper experience than when I felt being human. And I feel like we don't realize how our breath is our guide, our breath is our guru, our breath is our anchor, our breath is our balm, our breath is our excitement, our breath is our companion, our breath is the journey between life and death. And I think that for me, I'm grateful to have my breath, because without my breath, I'm nothing. So that is something that, to summarize, I just would say that I think we are very grateful to actually inhabit this beautiful earth. And it's really about grounding human experiences that can really create happiness. And everything else is an illusion.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your energy and your perspective, because I felt it deeply multiple times, and I vocalized it too. But I think you've just added so much enrichment to the space. So thank you for being here and sharing your world, your perspective with us.
Thank you so much, Vishti. It was a journey for me as well, because one doesn't plan these things and they just come. And I'm also quite amazed with what's come. But thank you so much for having me. It was a beautiful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. If this conversation stayed with you, share it with someone you think would feel it too. And if you have your own answer to the question, I'd love to hear it. Until next time.